And on this video, we're going to be going over my top 10 third basemen right now. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Ledger Network. And as I said in the open, we're going to be continuing our countdown alongside of MLB Network Series Top 10 right now with our top 10 third basemen right now heading into the 2021 campaign. Now, this is a personal list, so I encourage you to make your own list and see how it compares with mine and ultimately with the shredder on the MLB Network. So, when you make your list, let me know that down in the comment section below and we'll discuss it further. Let me know where you differ from my list and where you agree. And we can get into more of a discussion down there. Now, before we get into the list, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content, as we have more content coming for you this week here on the network. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you join us over on Patreon, as we have a ton of exclusive content already on our Patreon account and even more incoming in 2021. So the only way to do that is by joining us there, and that support helps us continue to bring you even more content. So let's get into it. And we begin with number 10 on my list, and that is Josh Donaldson. When you look at what Josh Donaldson does and what he provides the Minnesota Twins with, it's a level of consistency. Now, that being said, 2020 was a down season for Josh Donaldson. There's no doubt about it. But it's a strange year, so you kind of have to give him a pass. He's been a very, very good player for the last few years, no matter where he's played. So heading into 2021, you can expect for there to be a regression to the mean, a normality coming from Josh Donaldson. And even in his down season of 2020, he would still have an OPS plus of 131 according to BaseballReference.com. League average being 100. So even in a down season, Josh Donaldson is still 31% better than a league average player. And that's why he makes number 10 on my list. Now, number 9 on my list is probably going to surprise many people, and you may not have heard of him if you're a casual baseball fan. He is the son of former Major Leaguer Charlie Hayes, and that's Ke'Bryan Hayes. When you look at what this young man did in a very short campaign and a very short cameo in 2020, he lit the world on fire. Now, nobody really is going to hear about it because he was playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are going through the midst of a rebuild, and you're likely not going to hear very much out of him unless the Pittsburgh Pirates somehow turn it around. But when you look at his numbers throughout his tenure in the minor leagues, as well as what he did on the major league stage, this is a young man who is going to be a superstar. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Now again, he would only play in 24 games during the 2020 campaign, but he would have a slash line of 376, 422, and 682, which led to an OPS plus of 202. Now, obviously, that was not going to sustain itself over a full 162 game major league campaign. But if you were to take his average for a 162 game season, according to BaseballReference.com, he would end up with 34 home runs and 74 RBIs during that time, on top of playing very, very good defense. So for my money, I'm going to take a flyer at my number 9 spot for Ke'Bryan Hayes. As we head into the number 8 spot, this is a guy who's perennially on this list, and that's Eugenio Suarez. When you look at what Suarez does and what he's capable of, this is a potent bat for the Cincinnati Reds. In 2019, he would hit 49 home runs, smashing the record for the most home runs by a Venezuelan-born player. Now, 2020 was not the same kind of year, but even in a down and shortened year, Suarez would play in 57 of the 60 games and managed to crush 15 home runs and drive in 38 RBIs. Now, over the course of a full major league season, the batting average was likely going to climb up, but that home run total was likely going to grow exponentially. So, while some of the old school numbers like batting average may not have put him on this list, there's no doubt about it, Eugenio Suarez merits a place on the top 10 right now. Now, as we head into the number 7 pick, this is another man who played a lesser than stellar campaign in 2020, and that is Matt Chapman of the Oakland Athletics. When you look at Chapman, he would only play in 37 of these 60 games, but would still manage to have a home run total of 10 and an RBI total of 25 and produce an OPS plus of 122. Then when you factor in the fact that Matt Chapman is one of the best defenders at the position in all of Major League Baseball, and there's no doubt about it that he deserves a spot in the top 10 right now. Heading into 2021, there's no doubt about in my mind that Matt Chapman will get back to his usual self and begin producing at the plate as well as being a stellar lockdown defender in the field. And that's why he ranks number 7 on my top 10 right now. As we head into number 6 on my list, it is the New York Yankee third baseman Gio Urshela. Now, when the Yankees first acquired Urshela, he was not expected to be anything more than a late game defensive replacement. However, a change in his swing path would lead to Urshela developing a huge, potent bat for the New York Yankees, and that would help Urshela make himself a presence in the New York Yankee lineup, a lineup that contains some of the bigger names and most potent bats in baseball, and Gio Urshela is going to be one of those guys that helps push the New York Yankees towards the postseason. You add in the fact that he is viewed as one of the better defenders in Major League Baseball, and you're starting to get a full and complete player here for the New York Yankees, and that's why he makes number 6 on my top 10 right now. Now, before we get into the upper echelon, the top half of my top 10 right now, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comment section below. Let me hear your list. Who makes your top 10 third baseman right now? Where do your favorite players factor in? Let me know that, and we can discuss it more in the comment section. So now let's jump into the top 5. Now, as we head into the upper echelon of this list, we begin with my number 5 player, and that is Manny Machado. When you look at what Manny Machado can provide, again, this is one of the top defenders at the position. And if you've been paying attention to my list, defense in certain spots in the infield is very important to me. And Manny Machado is one of the best defenders in baseball, let alone at the third base position. When you look at what he's able to provide when he's going well offensively, this is a guy who has the potential to be a very potent bat in the middle of any lineup. Now you place him in with the San Diego Padres, who have been making a plethora of moves, and we will cover all of those moves in an upcoming video here on the Laracuente Ledger Network. But when you look at what Manny Machado can do for the San Diego Padres and what he has done thus far, he's definitely earning his stripes of that $300 million contract. Manny Machado would play in all 60 games during the shortened 2020 campaign, and he would hit 16 home runs, drive in 47 RBIs, and would have a slash line of 304, 370, and 580. If Manny Machado can maintain these over the full course of a 6-month, 162-game season, look out, Major League Baseball. Manny Machado is coming for the crown. As we get into the number 4 player, it is the Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman. Bregman is a dynamic player who has the potential to be one of the best players in Major League Baseball. The way that he plays the game as hard as he does and with as much passion would top anybody's list. Now you have to question whether or not the cheating scandal that the Houston Astros went through would have elevated his numbers more so than what they should have been. But even in a down season in 2020 by most standards, Bregman would still have a good year. Now again, OPS plus, the average is 100, and Bregman even in 2020 would have an OPS plus of 116. And that was dealing with all of the backlash, well, somewhat of the backlash of the cheating scandal heading into the 2020 campaign. Now, as he heads into 2021, things are likely going to be less of a distraction based on the cheating scandal, and he will be able to get back to the form he was at back in 2019 when he was up in the MVP conversation. So look for a very big year out of Alex Bregman, and he's my number 4 in the top 10 third baseman right now. Now, a running theme on this list is players having a down season, but their pedigree and track record provide the basis for their inclusion. And at number 3, that would be Jose Ramirez. The switch hitting third baseman for the Cleveland Indians would by all accounts have a down and poor season in 2020. And while we would make the case that you can kind of discount because of the strangeness of 2020, Jose Ramirez prior to that was in the MVP conversation the previous 2 seasons. There's no doubt about it that the switch hitting third baseman has all the makings of a superstar in Major League Baseball, but because he's playing for Cleveland, often gets overlooked. When you look at his ability defensively, it's going to leave a little bit of a question mark, but his bat more than makes up for the difference, placing him at 3rd on my list of top 10 third baseman right now. Now, as we get into the top 2 third baseman right now, we begin at number 2 with Anthony Rendon. When you look at Rendon, this is arguably, in my opinion, the most underrated and undervalued superstar in Major League Baseball. In a shortened 2020 campaign, Anthony Rendon would produce a massive OPS plus of 151. Even prior to that, he was a guy who could have been in the MVP discussion although he was often overshadowed by bigger names in his league. Now, no matter what statistics you try to use to rate the case of Anthony Rendon, there's little question as to the fact that he's among the very best third basemen in the game and among the very best players in the game. When you look at what he does on the defensive and offensive ability, you have a full and complete player here at number 2 on the list. So there's no question about it. There's not really a doubt at this point. The number 1 third baseman in the game right now, in my opinion, is Nolan Arenado. Now, yes, Arenado would have a terrible offensive year in 2020, leading to an OPS plus of only 84. But in my opinion, that was more of an aberration and a cause of playing in a weird pandemic shortened season, as well as playing for a team that's not playing for anything in Colorado. We've made a video on this channel before about 3 superstars that would be traded, one of which was Nolan Arenado. I will leave links to that video down in the show notes below, as well as up in the YouTube card. Now, when you look at Nolan's offensive track record, there's no doubt about it that this is a man who could potentially be an MVP type player each and every season. On Laracuenteledger.com, when we make our bold predictions for the upcoming MLB season, I make the claim that Nolan Arenado is going to win the National League MVP, proving that he is that type of player, at least in my mind. When you look at what Nolan does on the defensive end, there's no one better. Arguably the second coming of Brooks Robinson, and while that may sound blasphemous to some, Arenado is unquestionably an incredible defender. Now, one thing I will say about Nolan Arenado is the fact that many baseball pundits kind of discredit and discount him because of playing in Colorado, saying that his numbers, his home and road splits, are often elevated by playing in Coors Field. Now, if you listen to Dan O'Dowd, and I made the same argument for Todd Helton in my unofficial official Hall of Fame ballot. When you look at Colorado Rocky players, they are often discredited because of playing at high altitudes. Former Rocky GM Dan O'Dowd on MLB Network is constantly speaking about the effects on the body when you're away from Coors Field. The ball breaks differently coming off of breaking balls than when you're in Coors Field. So it's a much more difficult transition than what people believe when you're going from the high altitude back to normal sea level. Nolan Arenado is one of these players that transcends all of that in my opinion, and I think that he is, without question, the number 1 third baseman in the game. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know who makes your top 10 third baseman list right now heading into the 2021 campaign. As always, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Ledger Network. If you haven't already joined us on Patreon, head over to patreon.com, search for Laracuente Ledger Network, and join us. Your support there is going to help us continue to bring you content each and every week here on the Laracuente Ledger Network. So I will catch you guys on the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions about the game of Major League Baseball have to drop. Peace.